welcome, Emma. Thank you so much for taking time out to do this interview. I thought it'd be really nice just for you to actually share your journey and your experience at the New School of Nutritional Medicine. So I think you joined in September 2023,
Yeah.
graduated last year in September
Five.
2025. Gosh, it's 2026 already.
Yeah.
And yeah, and just to sort of, take us through your journey. I'll ask you some questions. I thought, we get loads of questions, people asking about the school. And I thought, why not have some of our graduates and, interview them and do a quick podcast? So thank you again. And yeah, I'm just going to say, so just tell me a bit about yourself first.
I have two children.
Hmm.
I'm currently been a stay-at-home mum since COVID. Um, but I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. Huge, big Italian family. Both parents Italian.
Hmm.
Moved over here when they were, I think my dad might have been 9 and my mum was 8.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, wow.
Me and my brothers, but all born, two siblings, so we're all born here in the UK, brought up quite sort of Italian traditional. But yeah, huge family, two children, husband.
So you said you were being a stay-at-home mum since COVID. So
Yeah.
before COVID, what were you doing? What was your...
My degree is in fashion and marketing.
Right.
Um, so I always loved creativity. I was a creative child. Give me a sketchbook, a notepad. I loved a doodle.
Hmm.
Um, so I went on to do fashion and marketing for 4 years. I graduated BA honours, and I went on to become a garment technician.
A garment technician.
Yeah, so I used to oversee. So some of my accounts, I mean, they've closed. Like the companies were BHS. Most of them have all closed now.
Oh my
Dorothy
goodness.
Perkins,
Yeah.
Topshop. So I used to have to go to Arcadia. They were based, was it Oxford Street, Tottenham Court Road?
Hmm.
Even that's
Yeah.
closed down now. Um, so yeah, so I used to oversee the garments from initial design right through to them being in store.
What was that like? What was it? Because, and I'm not being rude. I just sometimes I think fashion. I don't know whether you're in that environment, but it can be a bit cutthroat or a bit competitive and a bit sort of.
Yeah, it was very like that, very much like that. It was difficult because I've always been quite a quiet person, people pleaser as well. It just in the end, I was there for, I can't remember if it was 4 years or 5 years. Ended up giving that up because I just wasn't moving anywhere, and I just thought, do you know what, it's not for me. Like I said, I loved when I was at university the creative side, but then the
Yeah,
whole marketing side and then even the technical side, I just didn't enjoy it.
sure,
So
sure.
I gave that up. I ended up actually then working for the family business, which
Okay.
was completely different. Um, that was my brother owns a car garage, so it was a huge difference. Um, but the reason I did that, my mum was diagnosed with cancer, and my dad wasn't very coping very well with it. So it just helped. Obviously, she was in treatment every 2 weeks, so it just helped me that I was able to then go to the hospital appointments with her.
Right.
I was only meant to be there temporary, but it ended up being a lot longer. Um, and then from that, when my mum kind of got, I'd say it, we always knew she was never in remission for very long, but she was in a better place with it, with her cancer. So I then thought, now's the time I need to actually think about what I'm doing. So I got a job at Tesco head office as
Hmm.
a project manager.
Yeah.
And ironically, my account was convenience food.
Nice.
Um, Again, I loved that. I really loved my job for sort of the first 3 years. And
And
then
what did you
again,
like about it, Emma?
I
What?
loved the interaction. I love give me a spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet. I love being organized. So the fact that again I had to oversee from what the packaging looked, so it was all to do with the packaging. So what the packaging looked like from an initial design. So I still had that design element, even though I wasn't creating the packaging.
Sure.
I was part of, I got to
That,
see all the designs and work with the design team to then see it through in store. But then I'd obviously had to check all the texts, all the legal information. But yeah, I just loved, like I said, give me a spreadsheet back then, whereas now I hate them. Give me a spreadsheet back then. I loved it.
and
Um,
so at that time, were you a mum
no,
or
no, not at that point.
okay?
So when I first started, no, I got married. I think I'd been working there for a few years, got
Mm-hmm.
married,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my first child, my daughter, quite quick after getting married.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that's when, so from having my daughter, so she was born in October, my mum then sort of gave up work because her cancer progressed.
And what cancer
Um,
did she have? What?
so she had she had breast cancer at 39, and then at 49 she was diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma. So
Right.
at the time it was a form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but it was quite a rare type of
Yeah.
it was quite common in men, older men, in their 70s. So there wasn't a lot of information about it. She was given prognosis for like 2 years,
Right.
but she actually 6 years she survived for full, yeah, she died at 56. So she got diagnosed at 49, literally just before her 50th birthday. Um, and it was, so I'd had my daughter, and at this point she was obviously going through the treatment. She'd had a stem cell transplant, using her own stem cells.
Right.
My daughter wasn't born at that point. This is
So
going
this
back.
was 12 years ago. She had a stem cell transplant.
So she'd had the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy, and then she was probably only in remission for a few months, and it came back. And then she had a stem cell transplant using her own stem
Yeah.
cells.
Yeah.
That went really well. It's funny when I think about it. One of the symptoms, I have to say this, and I remember them saying, like, people, she smelled of sweet corn. Like, I can't go near sweet corn. I absolutely hate sweet corn now. But my mum used to like radiate this smell of sweet corn. And apparently that was the smell from the stem cell transplant.
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever heard that. So she's had that. And then she had a bit longer in remission. And then it came back. So then she went on like a clinical trial. Um, and she was also on a donor list for a donor stem cell,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like a worldwide donor. She had one sibling, so my auntie was in a match, um, but it just didn't really progress because they didn't find an exact, because
And
apparently it has to
yeah,
be quite an
absolutely.
exact match.
Yeah.
So that kind of just didn't happen. At this point, I think I must have been pregnant with my eldest. Um, and then she was on a trial drug, which was working. So because the treatment wasn't as harsh, and she decided then to give up work finally. And she just really enjoyed my pregnancy. And then she was at the birth of my eldest child, and we had 11 months with her. So my daughter, I say remembers her because we talk about her all the time.
Yeah.
Um, oh, sorry, it gets a bit emotional sometimes when I speak about her. Yeah, but it was the best 11 months because she was just present. She was with myself and my eldest. Um, yeah, and then after she passed away, I threw myself back into full-time work back at Tesco's, um, which at the time for me was the best thing I could have done because
Right.
that's how I dealt with things. It was power through.
Just get busy.
Yeah. And that's the only way I knew. And it's only now, which we'll go into this, but I realise we spent our whole life through my mum's illness just kind of putting a mask on and just everything's going to be fine. We didn't really speak about our emotions. We were just like, put a brave face on because that's what strength is. So after when she passed away, I went back in. So she passed away in September and I went back full time in November. So I had a
And who was
child that,
looking after the little one?
so she was everywhere. Again, I was lucky I had a big family.
Okay.
But
So
she
she's
was
with
with like,
family that
she was
that you
with
went back.
family. She was also in a, I put her into a play group, but that was
Okay.
only twice a week, and the rest of the time she was with family.
Hmm.
So yeah, navigating full-time work, a 1-year-old, sort of mothering for the first time as well without a mum. Um, but it was fine. But I would say it then got to a year down the line,
Hmm.
and I just thought I'm losing it a bit. I'm not, my husband kept saying like maybe you need to speak to someone. So I was just a bit of a nervous wreck. I'd already had a bit of health anxiety at this point. Um, and it was quite cutthroat as well. That we always say, if you work for Tesco, you have to be a Tesco type of person.
Right.
Um, so it was quite difficult towards the end. And yeah, I just thought, do you know what, this is not worth my mental health. So with the support of my husband, I just went in the next day and handed in my notice.
Okay.
Best decision I ever made. Had no idea what I was going to do after. There was no plan, and that's not me as well. Like I always need, like even when my mum was going through her chemo, like me and my brothers always used to say, our kind of safety net was knowing, every 2 weeks she was going to have treatment. So when she actually finished her treatment, we were just quite anxious because it was
Uh-huh.
almost like there was no plan. Like with no plan, like what happens? We just, yeah. So that's how
Yeah.
I kind of lived my life as well.
So I suppose it's
Um,
not being comfortable with not knowing what's going to happen, right?
no, no, that's
And so
it.
you left work because you said it was just was it you said health anxiety. So there's that, and then was it going back to being mum
It
full
was,
time,
yeah,
or
it was trying to juggle everything.
and you found it
Yeah, and
challenging?
sort of like not that anyone, said I had to go into my mum's boots, but it was just a role that I took on that I felt that I needed to. Um, my dad wasn't coping very well with it. He'd been with my mum since they were teenagers. That's all
Oh,
he knew.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was trying to kind of look after him, navigate being a mother, a wife, a sister. Um, but at the same time suppressing all my emotions because it's like just yeah, I just remember like
Because you
any
got
crying would just be
just
on my own. Like I would do my crying in the shower on my own because to me it was a sign of weakness.
so is that not a I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking Indian families, but is Italian family, do you not sort of like have your big moments and grieve and cry and
This is
tell
it, like we're
stories
all
and
yeah, like this like my fact we're all like so passionate and expressive. But I just think with my mum's illness, it was a way of coping. It was just
right.
a way of coping by just kind of thinking, be positive, everything's going to be fine. Like even my mum, she worked throughout, apart from that last sort of year, and always a full face of makeup and her wig on. I think I was only probably the only one that ever saw her without her wig. Um, but again, that was the way she coped with it. She had to have a
Sure.
full face of makeup on and just get on with
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Um,
So then what happened then, Emma? Because you've obviously something brought you to the school. So in that gap from, your mum passing and then you
Yeah.
sort of
So
left
from
work.
that, like I said, I had no plan. I ended up finding a little job in a florist, which was the best thing I ever, just being around colour. And I had no, I was creative. I had no idea on how to put a bunch of flowers together, but it was just the best year of my life. Like I loved it.
So you're doing that
And
part-time
I was
whilst
doing that
with the
part
little one.
time. Yeah. And then COVID hit. So
So Emma, it sounds like you are sort of you didn't really take time out, did you? You resigned from Tesco's and then you kind of then went became started working at this florist. So it wasn't like you actually did stop by
no,
the sounds of it. You
no, I
kind of
just kept
went from,
going. Just
although you're changing careers, but at the same time, in a way, not kind of dealing with what just happened as
no,
well.
not at all.
Right.
No.
Okay.
So then COVID hit,
Yeah.
and that forced me to stop because obviously we were, and I know I've mentioned this to you before. Obviously, lockdown for some people, obviously, it was a horrendous time. It wasn't nice. It was scary, but equally for me, I kind of liked it because it meant everyone just stopped. John had to keep working, my husband. I was just at home and there was no rushing and there was something about it that I just thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I fell pregnant. So I fell pregnant with my second child. And I had my son when I was 39. And at this point, obviously with lockdown, when I was pregnant with him, I was still active, I was still going to the gym. Then the gyms closed, and I feel like for me that really changed everything. I was trying to keep up, like me and my dad and my daughter would go for walks, but maybe obviously hormones, everything just felt like it changed a bit. My health anxiety increased. And I think, well, I know my mum got diagnosed with breast cancer at 39, so I always had it in my head, right, at 39, I'm going to get breast cancer. And that really being in lockdown and then just doom scrolling a bit. And I used to find myself following accounts of like younger women that had been diagnosed with breast cancer. I'd already been following you at this point. And then I can't remember, I was trying to think about it today. There was something that you'd posted. You'd done like a talk and it really resonated. And I can't remember even what it was about. I was trying to look through some of my messages to see if I'd messaged my friend about it. And at this point, I'd already mentioned to my husband about starting the course. And he just said, with a newborn, he's always been really supportive. But my son, he was, he must have turned 1 in the April. Yeah, he was 1 in the April. And he just said, we just can't do it. It's just not the time. We were
Mhm.
currently as well living with my dad because we were building our house. Everything was just happening.
And this is once
Um,
COVID, the lockdown was over, right?
yeah. So I'd had, yeah,
So you had a like what they call a COVID pregnancy.
yeah. So
Okay.
we were just starting to come out of COVID, but my
Okay.
husband still wasn't allowed in until I was in active labor. So all the appointments as well, he wasn't with me. So I'd had my son by then. You had done this post, and I just thought, something clicked, and I just thought, if I don't do this
Mhm.
now, I'm never going to do it. And I remember just signing up. I didn't tell anybody because, like I said, we'd had the conversation with my husband, and he just was like, absolutely, but just not right now. There's too much going on. Didn't tell anyone. Um, and I don't think I told him until I had the interview with you.
Oh my gosh.
And then I explained my reasons why I had to do it. And obviously he knew as well that the sort of health anxiety I was going through. And I kind of explained oh, and at this point as well, so my periods hadn't really come back properly. So then I was kind of back and forth with the doctor. Was seeing someone privately as well, just to
Hmm.
see what was going on with the hormones.
Hmm.
They'd said, you're going through perimenopause,
Hmm.
but because of my mum's history, HRT wasn't an option. So then they started talking about laser in my cervix, and I just thought, if I do not get on top of this right now, that's it. I'm doomed. It was fear, absolutely
Right.
faith and
So
fear.
fear brought you to the course.
Fear
So
brought me to
anybody
the
who's
course.
listening who's fear led, it worked for you, I
And
suppose.
it was just, yeah, I just, yeah, and a feeling of just I have to do this. I have to do this for myself and my health. I have to understand myself what's going on because I don't want to start lasering anything. Like I wasn't in a position where, symptoms were terrible, but things were changing. So
But
I
what,
had to get.
so Emma, what made, okay, so you found me through, in inverted commas, doom scrolling some reason.
No, so I started following you for a friend.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
So, but from that, one, you did have the health anxiety. Your mum was 39 when she first got the cancer. So you had that in the back of your mind that, okay,
yeah,
39 equates cancer in inverted
yeah.
commas. And then you signed up, had the interview. And really, it sounds like it was coming from a place of where you wanted to do something, but you didn't just want whatever you said, like having a laser. Because, I mean, did you feel that there were other options?
No, this is the thing. There was no options, and this is where I felt like I had to
Okay.
get on top of it.
But they
And
didn't give you any other options as to why this might be going on, why you might be having these
no,
symptoms.
it was just sort of,
It's
like,
perimenopause.
yeah, I remember them saying, yeah, you know, this is the age. Um, this is what you need to deal with, basically. It may
Okay.
get worse, it may not.
Okay. So, and then we had the interview,
Had the interview,
and then you
and
spoke to your husband.
all I remember focusing on
Yeah.
was I have no science background
Right.
whatsoever.
Okay.
I have no, I haven't done anything in nutrition. Um, uh, and studying, obviously going back to studying at sort of a mature age with two small children and a family to run, like how am I going to do this?
So Emma,
Um,
just I sense what it sort of reminds me of when I signed up as well in the US. I was living in London then, and to think that I'm going to do this course in the US 26 years ago is mental because how am I on earth going to fly to the US one weekend a month? But it's like you had this something in you, even though your partner said now's not the right time. There's something in you that just
yeah,
drew you there. Had the interview and then had all these doubts and questions. You don't have a science. I mean, that's so common. I don't have a science background. And I think, I mean, part of it, I'm curious, what was science like for you at school?
I hated it. And I think I've said this to you, I might have had this conversation with you before. When I think of my science, all I remember is mucking around with a Bunsen burner. That is my science classes.
Yeah. And, I think, and that is quite common. We get students. I mean, I will interview. I mean, the thing is, it's your passion. It's your passion that actually got you all the
Yeah,
way through the course, and the fact that you made time to study. So, and I've had these discussions with you. But what's really important is the fact that I find personally is when some of our students have to unlearn what they've
yeah,
learned. So especially if they've already got a background, say they've got a biochemistry degree, or they're already a practitioner. And it's what's harder is the unlearning to learn. Sometimes I think it's a lot easier to
100%.
come with a
Yeah.
clean slate. The thought of
I
a
was a
Bunsen
blank
burner,
canvas. I was a blank
yes,
canvas. So I knew nothing. So you could just build on that. Like
right.
that knowledge was there to kind of start from scratch. So to unlearn something is really, really difficult.
So what did you, okay, I mean, but then having said that, you've got a creative background, you're in fashion, you worked at Tesco's, you like spreadsheets. These are all skills. These are important transferable skills. Because
Yeah,
sometimes I think we have this thing, right? If I'm going to study nutrition, I need to have a science background, I need this. I think what we tends to negate is all the other skills that we have just from living life and the jobs that you've had
yeah,
before and the fact that you've experienced being with your mum, caring for your mum and seeing what she went through.
yeah.
Once you started the course, then I'm very curious, is what you joined, which is very obvious. What then was the course like? And and this is not about selling the school or anything. What was your experience? Sitting there, it's one weekend a month for 2 years. You're sitting there in the class. I mean, I remember you, always remember the students, but what was it like for you sitting in class and learning?
It was really difficult. Like I had to make sure I sat at the front.
Hmm.
And that was a thing because where I lacked the confidence, I knew by me sitting sort of towards the back, I would just switch off and I wouldn't be seen. Whereas I knew that I had to focus because, you were right there and you would see if I would switch off and you'd probably ask me a question I couldn't answer. Um, but it was really difficult. But what I didn't realize, I went into this for the nutrition, had no idea what coaching was about. Um, but it was all about the coaching. So year one, the inner coaching, that's when things started. It was more the other way around. It was actually, this is what I need. It's the coaching, not the nutrition at this point. Um, because then that helped with my learning. It was all about, well, where does this stem from? Why do I not think I'm good enough to be here? Um,
So even though you're sitting in at the weekends, you felt like you still wasn't good enough to be there.
oh, there were some weekends where I was just, why am I here? Like this, I'm not understanding this. Um, I was such a perfectionist, and if I do something, I want to do it the best.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this was kind of huge for me because no matter how much of the studying that I could do with two small children, it was a struggle.
It
It
was
was.
never enough, I suppose,
No.
So, and to be honest, okay, so there's quite a bit there. The first year, the inner coaching, which I can see, I mean, students sometimes join, they're like, okay, all right, I'll just do it. Yeah, do the assignments, do the self-reflection. And it's just a bit of a like, okay, and then they're really sort of into the nutrition and loving
Yeah.
the nutrition and they want to do all the tests and what have you. But you found the nutrition hard, which I don't think anybody finds easy, right? I mean,
No.
when I did mine, I mean, I did a master's. Even though it was a master's and I had all that background, I had to unlearn to learn as well, and it
Yeah.
was hard. And I felt like when I used to sit there thinking everybody around me was either like a nurse that worked for a naturopathic doctor, and people.
Yeah.
There were one nurse who we really became good friends with. She was talking about how some children who weren't talking, who were labeled as on the spectrum, then suddenly started talking. She's working with this naturopath. And I used to think, what on earth? Can we just get on with the lecture, please, and stop sharing all these silly stories?
Yeah.
But it's absolutely amazing how, with time, I think if you're passionate and you want to do it, it makes a big difference. But when and I wish I had that, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But we had a really good group. I had this, and one of my friends and I, we're really good friends, still in touch. She lives in the States. And we still all Zoom each other like at least once a month. And we can spend 2 hours on Zoom just chatting. But that connection helped because I struggled with some of the aspects of the teaching, and it was because it was very deep in nutrition and I didn't have a nutrition background. I wish I had the coaching. It's a very different
Yeah.
part. But for you, when you say that it was the coaching that you needed, why do you feel like you needed the coaching then in year one? What was
Bec-
that kind of moment where you,
Because that's when I realized it wasn't a fact the case that I didn't know anything to do with the nutrition. I wasn't allowing myself to believe that I could do this. So it was the coaching that helped. Why does everything have to be? Why do you have to be perfect at everything? Is it not good enough? You're just turning up and you're listening, and things are,
yeah,
at this point as well, on my assignments, I was doing really good. Like there was no bad grades. But even then, I would see my grade and like my husband would be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like you're doing really well. And I'd be like, oh, I would have liked just two extra marks. And I would drive him crazy because he's like, just nothing is good enough for you.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
was this kind of that coaching where it was more about, well, why am I not allowing myself, one, to enjoy this? There was no self-compassion. Like self-compassion was a huge thing for me.
Mm, mm.
Um, and it was once I got my head round, I'm here, I can do it. What is underneath this kind of resistance that I started. I enjoyed it throughout all of year one, but it became maybe easier for
Hmm.
me to actually just turn up, listen, and enjoy the classes
Right. And
and not
so,
overthink.
how did you come to that? Was it like just coaching, or was it, did you go home and do something?
So
What made
it was the coaching within the sessions, and then I also decided at that point to explore it a bit further. So I ended up
you saw a
having
coach?
one-to-one coaching, which was weekly. Yeah, it was
Excellent.
weekly.
Yeah,
And that for me was the biggest game
brilliant.
changer.
And then Emma did it. So from that, you moved into year two, you finished the
Yeah.
course, and anything that you felt, so without the coaching, say, let's say that it wasn't just, say it was just nutrition,
Yeah.
okay, and rapid relief homeopathy. What can you see how that would have been different for you?
Yeah, I don't think I would have, I don't know if I would have maybe survived it as much. I think because
Right.
there was a lot of self-doubt, as in like, that's it, I'm quitting, I can't do this,
Hmm.
even though I loved it. So this, it was a constant battle,
Yeah.
like self-sabotage. Like, why you know that you like this.
So the
But it was the fear of, but what if I do it and I don't do it good enough? What if I do it and I'm not doing it right?
yeah.
So that's where the coaching comes in because it had nothing to do with the academic side.
Yeah.
It was the inner, like, it was about me.
So once you finished the 2 years, you did really well. I remember you sitting at the front, and I'll never forget your diagram of the neuron. So beautiful, so perfect as well, and
Oh,
beautifully
thank
colored. But I
you.
think it's also, like you said, your creative side. And I love that because
That
I'm
was
very
my how I
visual.
helped.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
that's
that's
what
really,
helped me learn is I had to be visual.
yeah, yeah. And I think part of it is, even like, we get students who say that what's really helpful is because the sessions are recorded and you get to watch them anytime. You can pause and replay.
Yeah,
I think what everybody has a different style of learning, and you knew what your style of learning was,
yeah,
and you also wanted to do the course. You said you still carried on, you still had that passion,
yeah,
but you got support, you got the coaching. And then, is there anything that you would say that you, looking back now, because what are you doing now, Emma? Just shared, for those who don't know you, what are you doing at the moment? So you qualified last year in September.
yeah,
Um, and I know you're part of my team as a
yeah. I'm
practitioner.
part of your
And
practitioner team.
yeah, so tell me how's it looking like for you now?
So
Having done the
obviously,
course.
yeah. So obviously children are still at school, so everything kind of still revolves around them. But it's great because I work from home and never kind of said I wanted to niche in anything, but I tend to get there's loads of sort of mums, school mums, children. But yeah, just seeing clients throughout the week, again, just from home, which is great because
Yeah.
it fits so well with the children. But even that was kind of a battle at first. Again with can I actually do this? And I did clinic. So I was one of the student clinics in year two, which had you said in year one that I would put
That you
myself up for that, I would have laughed. And I think that's what helped me then because I just thought, right, okay, I did that then and I can do this now on my
Mhm.
own. I can do this. And I'm still part of a great team. So I know the support's there. So yeah, seeing clients weekly and loving
So tell
it.
me, you said, like mums and children. What are you seeing? Is it like, so you drop your kids off at school, right? You're okay.
Yeah.
So because I'm just gonna go back a bit. You're seeing clients now, you see them online, you're working from home, so you can work flexible hours, whilst the children at school and before you
Yeah.
pick them up. Just quickly going back, two young children doing the course, how did you study, do the course as well as have children? Was it, I mean, I know you like spreadsheets, so maybe you planned
Yeah.
your time or,
No. So it was, and this was another thing with the coaching, what taught me as well. It was so easy to look at where everyone else was, and everyone is such at different stages of their life. Because
yeah,
obviously, in my cohort, there were some without children, some with children. So the coaching really helped kind of for me to stay in my own lane and think, right, everyone has their own lane and their own way of working. So for me, I couldn't do it during the day. My youngest at that point, he was in a play group, but it was like for 3 hours. So by the time I actually dropped him, got home, I was back out again, and the
Yeah.
stop start just didn't work for me.
Uh-huh.
So I had to study the back end of the day. So it was after when they were in bed,
Okay.
um, and then weekends. But it worked for me.
Were you already organized? Because it sounds like you're organized. You already knew that you're going to work in the evenings and then at the
Yeah.
weekends. So you
Obviously,
have,
where I could, as things progressed, then he then moved on to like nursery. So he was there a bit longer. So then I could do sort of more the front end of the day.
okay,
Um, so yeah, it was just allowing myself to actually lean into just being a bit more flexible and not so rigid where I had to have an exact plan. I had to kind
sure.
of, some days it's not going to happen, some days it will happen.
Yeah. And, again, I'm just thinking back because I love that, that sort of self-reflection as you're talking. I'm thinking takes me back to when I did my studies. I didn't have any children then. It was just me and David. Wake up. I used to wake up at 4 o'clock to study because I also was working then as a research scientist at the
Yeah.
New York Blood Center. And oh my gosh, I tell you, I love those hours in the morning, getting my work done. Then I'd go to work, and then in the evening we'd hang out wherever it is in New
Yeah.
York, whatever. But again, it was being organized for me. Although no children, I still had a job. And
Yeah.
then the weekends, there were some weekends I'd work, do the assignments, what have you. Other weekends I wouldn't. But then moving forward for you, what was your plan? Did you have a plan? So you signed up, did the course, and then was it more for you? Was it more for your family? What was your original plan? And now you're a practitioner, you see clients and and you're doing a great job. We have our team meetings. How has that been for you? So, like, did you come in with a plan, right? Once I finish this diploma, this is what I'm going to do, or what was going on for
No,
you?
there was no plan whatsoever. The plan was when I started to get on top of my own health,
It's your own
as
health.
in what is going on with my hormones, like how can I have a better perimenopause? And my son also was having a lot of issues, respiratory issues,
Hmm.
um, back and forth from the hospital. He was on steroids, a nebulizer, and I just constantly kept getting told he'll grow out of it when when he's older. And I was just like, I can't keep doing this. I can't. This was on top of the studying as well, and it was just like, I know what I know, so I can't accept that he's just going to grow out of this because. So I had to act on that. So yeah, so there was no plan. It was always this is for me and my children and my family.
Okay.
Um, I would say that probably changed a bit in year two when I started doing clinic myself. I was like, I actually really enjoy this. I've always been one, I like listening to people. I like hearing their story. So when I didn't, so if even now in my practice, sometimes I can think, oh, like this case is a bit complex. But then it's just, I overthink it because then when I'm just there, it's just this is where the coaching comes in. It's just holding a space for someone to talk because 9 times out of 10, the clients I see, they do come to me for nutrition, but it's actually just coaching without realizing. Like I have it actually separately um on my website when really it's a combined thing. It can't be separate.
Yeah.
Because the client I don't think actually knows like I didn't understand it fully when I before starting the course what coaching was about. But it just happens naturally within the session that and then I end up coming away and I'm thinking, right, that was more of a coaching session than a nutrition
Yeah.
session.
So Emma, you sound like as well, like you said, you're overthinking it, you're a perfectionist. Were you aware of that before you started the course? Like, were you, that you overthink that
I was
everything has to be quite,
Yeah, I always knew I was a perfectionist, but I kind of made it a joke, like, oh, this is, and almost that it was such a good thing that I was a perfectionist because everything had to be perfect. And it's only since the course that it's actually I've listened to a podcast, the Prison of Perfect,
hmm.
and that really just struck a chord because I was like, wow, like I have lived in my own prison because it's not about being perfect, it's actually about control. And that's
Right.
when the penny
Yeah.
dropped. It's like I have to be in control and it's kind of loosing the reins
Yeah.
and
And
just
how does that
enjoying.
feel to let go of the
So
reins?
scary. And
Yeah.
it's fear. Again, it's back to
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah. And it's interesting that now you see clients that need coaching where, so,
Yeah.
and because you've probably experienced it, that
Yeah.
can sort of relate more to it because of your own experience.
Yeah.
And then I did want to ask, Emma, how have you noticed, especially the coaching? Because with some students, I have noticed that when they start in year one, and and I love that when in year one they might be quite quiet, and then by the time they get to the last weekend in year two, they are talking, they are vocal, they might be now sitting at the front, whereas they didn't before. And I love that. And I'm thinking something, how does it trans translate into your own life, like as a mum? Or have you seen any changes, that your relationship with your partner, with your children, how you parent now to the way you parent before you did that? Have you
Massively.
seen any change?
It's really funny actually you say this because only recently, so my daughter's transitioning into secondary school, and we had her transition day, and she found out that so she's a group of five friends, and obviously the school has no input on what form she's in, but she's on her own, and the four girls are all together. So she
Oh,
was so upset, and it was such a shock because I never expected any of them to be together, but I thought they'd all be separated. But the fact that four are together and
in the
she's all
same
on her
form,
own in
in
the
the
same
same.
room, she's all on her own, she just burst into tears. And this is where, so we were there with other families because we're finding out who the tutor is. And she was so upset. And I think I was just taken by surprise because it was just, I did not anticipate that. Um, so I obviously instantly just went to hug her, and she really like pushed back. And then other mums were there as well, that like school friends, mums that tried, to help, it's going to be fine. Everything happens for a reason. Like you're a really confident girl. And she was just really off, and that's not like her. And it wasn't until we got home that we kind of brought up the subject and we were talking about it. And she said to me, and this is only recently, and she said, and I asked her, why, when like, mummy tried to hug you, did you push me off? And she was like, because I didn't want to show that I was weak. And I just thought, wow. And that's when I thought the old me wouldn't have even probably registered anything or would have thought, well, actually, yeah, you just need to suck it up and get on with it. But instead, I was like, where this has come from me. This has come from her sort of, growing up and seeing me just powering
Get
through.
on, get on
So
with
we
it.
really had to talk and say, like, strength doesn't come through not like there's
Not
loads of strength
crying
in
or not
crying.
showing
Yeah.
vulnerability.
Like showing vulnerability. But it really highlighted to me, I don't think I would have made that connection back then.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, okay, I have the tools now that we're going to discuss this and we're going to talk about this. Like, where does this come from? What do you think strength is? So yeah, that was quite recent, so it's fresh in my mind.
So did you have that conversation? What
Yeah,
do you think strength is, or
yeah.
how did
But
that go?
but again, she's really good because she's very, if she has something on her mind, that's it, she goes for it. So she's very headstrong. She was just, I think she felt that over disappointed, she said, if she cried. And I was like, where's that come from? But I know, like, I still find it quite hard. I know I cried earlier because I talked about my mum, but I do, as soon as I feel it coming, I just stop myself.
Right.
And that's from years of just doing that. So I'm trying to kind of just show her that we can show our emotions, and crying
Yeah.
is a good thing, it's a release.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the same time, we've talked quite a lot about coaching because I
Yeah,
do find that that is I think the part of the curriculum that people come and think, okay, just do it until they get into year two, I think. And when we do
yeah,
the clinics, right? So, we laugh about it that in the clinics, every single client we see in clinic requires coaching, although they might not realize it because they
yeah,
come for the nutrition. And most of the students end up doing coaching in the clinics. So do just now, if somebody is actually thinking about doing the course, shall I do the course? Shall I not do the course? Oh, there's lots of courses out there. And I'm not saying it's the best course and what have you. What advice would you give them? And I'm especially thinking about, because people generally join. We've got several students who come because they come for their own health and the
yeah,
health of their children, their family, rather than no intention to practice and believe it or not, end up practicing. And I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful when that happens because it means it's impacted your life so much that you actually want to do it. And even like you said, you were one of the students that took a clinic case. And again, with the clinic case, we always say we're there with you, we're holding your hand, make sure when you then type up a report for the clients, it gets reviewed by another supervisor.
Yeah.
So, that's one of our, I would say that's one of our strengths is the school clinics, and then all the students see in year two how it all comes into play. But I do think, because I remember you taking that case and how you were so nervous and how you were just a natural, is anybody who's sort of thinking like that now, they might be coming for their family's health and they don't have
Yeah.
to train to be a practitioner, anything. Any message that you have for them, considering what you've gone through and where you're at now, Emma?
I don't think you can't do this course and not change as a person. And then that has a ripple effect on your family. So regardless, like I never had a plan when I came in, never thought that I would be practicing after once I'd qualified. But you can't, even throughout the 2 years, sort of talking to mums at the school gates, it was never just a quick conversation because you would just want to know more. And then I'd come home and I think, I actually know much more than what I give myself credit for.
Yeah,
And you don't real, and that's why I remember saying it's kind of criminal if I just don't carry on with this because people need to know because just the basics, like the free food groups, it's not something that I even like. I grew up in an era where it was counting calories.
yeah,
Fat is bad, so that was unlearning that was quite difficult.
yeah,
I was blessed in the sense, again, coming from an Italian family, it's always about food,
yeah,
always about food. So I had that and I had that passion for, cooking from scratch, colourful food, good food. So yeah, it's just I don't see how you can't not do anything from the 2 years of learning. Like if it's not just for your own health, you will go on to practice because you can't keep that information to yourself. It's not something you just sit on after
yeah. And
on.
I, and even like what you said, the school get because that's quite a long time ago for me. But being dropping your kids off at school
Yeah.
and the number of mums that would always ask questions or that are
Yeah.
interested in. And do you think that's normal, Emma, that so many sort of people are interested in health and well-being, or do you
I
feel like
think
they're asking you more now because you're a practitioner, or more
I
because
think
there's more
things have
illnesses?
changed now, yeah, and I think there's almost too much information that then there's a bit of confusion where it's
Sure.
just I always say and I say it in my sessions like always always just the fundamentals if you could just get that right you're winning.
Right? Right?
And
Yeah.
it's not hard. And
No.
this is where, like, I think now there's just too, people are scared to do anything, to eat anything. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, yeah, just stripping it. If that's all you take from this, like I said, you're winning,
Yeah. Absolutely.
but you won't,
Thank
you'll carry
you.
on.
Yeah, I mean, and I really appreciate you sharing all this as well because it's not easy. I remember when you first said, last thing you'd want to do is sort of speak in front of a screen or even like at school, when I remember in year two, it'd say, Emma, do you want to share that? And you'd come to the front and you'd share it. Whereas I never ask you in year one because you'd probably shoot me,
No,
and
no,
it's wonderful to see that. So really appreciate your time.
no, thank you.
And yeah, so if anybody's thinking about the school, hopefully this has
Just
helped. Emma's story might give you some direction.